There's a moment that happens quietly, somewhere between your second cup of coffee and a Tuesday morning commute, where you glance at your bank balance and feel something close to pride. Not excitement, not relief, just a slow, settled sense that things have worked out. The number looks right, the job is real, the house is paid on time. My name is Daniel, and I want to talk about that feeling. Because that feeling, more than any bad decision you've ever made, is the thing most quietly costing you the next 20 years of your life. Here's the thing nobody explains about your 40s. This is the first decade where you actually feel financially competent. Your 20s were chaos, your 30s were survival, but your 40s? Your 40s have the texture of arrival, and arrival is comfortable. Comfortable is the enemy. Not in the dramatic, motivational poster way, but in the slow, invisible way that a tide pulls you backward while you're standing still enjoying the view. The trap of the 40s isn't that men make reckless decisions, it's that they make reasonable ones over and over again, each one making perfect sense in isolation until the compounded weight of all that reasonableness quietly buries them. Let's start with something nobody frames correctly: the relationship between income and identity. Around your mid-40s, your paycheck peaks. That's not pessimism, it's just labor economics. And when income peaks, the human brain does something fascinating. It stops treating money as a resource and starts treating it as a personality trait. You stop asking, "What does this cost?" and start asking, "Does this fit who I am now?" A $700 watch doesn't feel like a luxury purchase at 44, it feels like a statement. A $65,000 truck doesn't feel like transportation, it feels like evidence. Evidence of the road you traveled to get here. And the market knows this. It doesn't sell you trucks, it sells you the version of yourself you've been working toward since you were 23. The math behind this is almost cruel in its simplicity. If your household income is $120,000 and you're saving the average American rate of around 8 to 10%, you're putting away roughly $10,000 to $12,000 a year. That sounds fine until you realize that the lifestyle architecture you've built around the other $108,000, the car payments, the subscriptions, the private school fees, the dining out budget that crept up so slowly you never noticed, is now load-bearing. You can't remove it without the whole structure shaking. And here's what that actually means in retirement terms. $12,000 a year invested at 7% over 20 years gets you to roughly $492,000. That sounds like a lot until you discover that to sustain your current lifestyle in retirement using the standard 4% withdrawal rule, you need closer to $2.5 million. The gap between where you're going and where you think you're going is not a small one. It's the size of a different life. Now, before we go further, if this is hitting somewhere real, do me a favor and subscribe. I make these videos because I think clear financial thinking is one of the most underrated things a person can develop, and the algorithm needs a signal to keep showing this to people who actually need it. Back to the traps. There's one that's almost invisible because it disguises itself as love. When your kid shows talent, real, visible, exciting talent, something shifts in how you spend. Competitive youth sports in America now costs the average participating family somewhere between $1,500 and $5,000 per year per child. At the elite travel level, families routinely spend $15,000 to $20,000 annually. And the thing driving most of that spending isn't calculation, it's hope. The hope that the sacrifice is building something, a scholarship, a future, a story you'll all tell at Thanksgiving in 20 years. Here's the uncomfortable number. Fewer than 2% of high school athletes receive any form of athletic scholarship, and most of those are partial. You are not making a college investment, you are making an experience investment. That is completely valid, but call it what it is. Because $5,000 a year for 10 years redirected into an index fund at 7% becomes $69,000 at the end. Left untouched until you hit 65, it's well over $200,000. The love is real. The math doesn't care about love. Then there's the home equity trap, which is perhaps the most sophisticated one because it involves an asset that actually appreciates. By your 40s, you've likely built real equity in your house, maybe $150,000, maybe $250,000. And somewhere around year 12 of homeownership, that equity starts to feel like a checking account. The kitchen is dated, the primary bathroom needs work, the deck is rotting in 2 places, and the HELOC, the home equity line of credit, is sitting there, patient and accessible, like a very polite financial mistake. Average HELOC balances in 2024 reached around $45,000. Homeowners are pulling equity out of their appreciating asset and converting it into granite countertops and composite decking that will never appreciate a single dollar. It feels like renovation. It functions like quietly dismantling the one part of your net worth that was working. What makes the 40s uniquely dangerous isn't any single decision, it's the architecture of all of them together. The truck payment is $900, the HELOC payment is $400, the youth sports fees are $400 a month during season, the life insurance policy that sounded like an investment is $500. None of these feel large, none of them would make you flinch at a restaurant, but together they represent somewhere between $2,000 and $2,500 a month, roughly $25,000 to $30,000 a year, flowing towards things that will either depreciate, expire, or never materialize. Invested instead from age 45 to 65, that sum compounds into something in the neighborhood of $1.2 million. Not through sacrifice, just through redirecting what's already moving. The final trap is the most psychological. By the time men in their 40s start genuinely thinking about retirement, there's a voice in the background that says, "I still have 20 years. 20 years sounds generous. It is not. If you're 45 with $68,000 saved, which is the actual median 401k balance for that age group, and you start maxing your contributions today, you will arrive at 65 with a number that after inflation adjustment still falls short of the standard 10 times your salary benchmark. That is not said to demoralize you. It's said because knowing the real gap is the only thing that creates real urgency. Vague discomfort doesn't change behavior, specific numbers do. Here's what I want you to leave with. The 40s are not a doomed decade, they are a leveraged one. Every dollar you stop spending on depreciating comfort and redirect toward compounding assets has more impact right now than it ever will again, because you still have time and you finally have real income. The trap isn't the truck or the HELOC or the travel baseball. The trap is the story you tell yourself that all of this is manageable later. Later is a currency that runs out faster than any other. If you found this useful, subscribe. I break down this kind of thinking every week in plain language. No jargon, just the mechanics of how money actually moves through a real life. And I want to ask you something before you go. What's the one financial decision you made in your 40s, or are watching someone make, that felt completely reasonable at the time but didn't hold up when you looked at the actual numbers? Drop it in the comments. I read all of them.